Hey y'all, hi, my name's Ari and welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we are going to be getting into the 5 things that I have learned so far while planning my own wedding. I'm sure you can already tell from the title of today's video and the thumbnail what we're going to be discussing today, but I wanted to give just a little bit of extra detail here at the beginning. This is going to be my first video, hopefully, in a series of wedding planning videos. So if that is something that interests you, then I highly recommend that you subscribe to my channel so that way you don't miss future videos. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the 5 things that I have learned so far while planning my own wedding. So we got engaged in October of 2024 and it was just really beautiful. My fiance Steven did a fantastic job with the ring and the planning of it all. It was a really special moment and I am super excited to be a fiance. But I don't want to be a fiance for too long. I'm really ready to be a wifey. So I have already started diving into the wedding planning process. Call me crazy, but I am one of those girls who always dreamed of getting married and having a beautiful wedding. So I am really excited about that whole part of the process. Of course, I just want to place some extra emphasis on the fact that a wedding is just one really small part of a marriage and building a partnership long-term with someone. So I won't be discussing too much of that. For now, I'm just going to be sticking to the wedding planning of it all. I'm also really grateful that my partner pretty much has little to no care about the wedding in general. So we've already had a few conversations about what is really important to him and what he wants to be a part of in the planning process. And the rest is kind of up to me and what I like. Of course, I'll run things by him as I find them. It might not work for every couple, but that is what we are working with. All that to say, I think it will be a lot of fun to document the process, and maybe some of you guys watching this can get tips for your own wedding or some inspiration or just learn something new that you didn't know. So number 1 is that I am taking on the role as the wedding planner and the wedding designer. I don't have any interest in hiring a professional for either of those. I am leaning towards hiring a day of coordinator. And if you're like me and you're doing all of this for the first time ever, you might not even know the difference between all of these different professionals. So I want to go into a little bit of detail here about the options open to you. Firstly, a planner is someone that comes in and handles like the logistics and negotiates with vendors. They keep track of your budget and basically will do full-scale planning from like start to finish. A day of coordinator, however, is only there for the day of the wedding. So they are going to handle the logistics, but solely on the day of. So you come in with the plan already, and then they just make sure that it's being executed to your liking. A designer handles the styling and the overall aesthetic and theme of the wedding. And then there's different variations of these. You can find full service ones that do all 3 of these. You can find someone that does like a mix of the 2. I can definitely see the benefit of hiring a professional for your special day. Like I said, I've dreamed of having a wedding for a really long time. So I totally understand like wanting to have a professional on your side. I personally am choosing to plan it myself because I feel like time is on my side. So that's actually number 2 on my list, and that is to pick a reasonable date. We're a little over 18 months from the date that we chose, so I have full confidence that we'll be able to put together something really special in that amount of time. So experts say that it can take an average of about 15 months to plan a wedding, and then if you were to browse Reddit, like I sometimes do, and you find yourself in some subs specific to wedding planning, you might notice that those numbers vary a lot. So you will hear different things from different people. I have been keen on hearing what other people think about timelines or how long it took them to plan their wedding. So I definitely think that asking around and talking to people within your circle, getting an idea of how long they took to plan their weddings, can be really helpful in giving you an idea of the date that you may want to choose based on how long it's going to take you to plan. Something that really impacts your planning process is where you decide to get married. So I assume you might need a little extra time to plan if you live in the US, for instance, and want to get married in another country. We are not having a destination wedding, but I have based a lot of my research so far on getting married in another state, which is something we do plan to do. Every state does things a little bit differently, but regardless, you're going to need 2 documents for an official marriage, and that is a license and a certificate. So a license is the legal permit that is granted by your county court that says that you're allowed to get married. So they verify that you are not currently married and that you're a resident, and then they grant you that license so that way you can get married in that state. Some states offer licenses that allow you to get married. In other states, it really varies by your county, so you'll want to research the area that you live in and also the area that you plan on getting married in to see what the stipulations are around that license. But once you get a license, they are temporary and will expire, so you have to be pretty careful about the planning and dates of when you choose to get the license and when you choose to officially get married. Now, once you have someone who can officiate the wedding and the ceremony, that is when you'll be granted a certificate. And you do need that certificate if you plan on changing your name, and you will need that, of course, as verifiable proof that you are married. So on top of where you're getting married, it might be important to be thinking in tandem about who you would like to invite. There is a chance that your guest list is going to be impacted by where you choose to have your ceremony and reception. So a couple of questions that I personally considered are: how many people do you want to celebrate with? Would your loved ones be willing and or able to travel for that event? Do you intend on having adults only, or are you including children as well? And it's also good to consider that when you are planning on inviting guests as singles, it's pretty customary to give them a +1. So you want to calculate that into your guest list for planning. And last and probably most importantly, all of your decisions are going to be guided by your budget. It's no secret that weddings can be expensive, so I think it's best to really pick your number first and then decide what aspects of the wedding are most important to you, so that way you can put those funds towards that and then save on other things that you just might not value as much for the day. For example, I know how important it is for me to have really beautiful photos of the day and a video of the day, so those are two things that I would be willing to spend a little bit more on, even if it means that I might need to find discounts for my dress or my bridesmaids' dresses and things like that. So the 5 things so far that I've learned while planning my own wedding are to decide if you're going to be working with a planning professional, pick a date and know how much time you have to plan, determine where you're getting married, and make sure you double check all the laws in that area so that way you can properly complete the process of getting the license and certificate for your marriage. Make a first draft of your guest list so that way you have a rough estimate of your head count. And finally, figure out your budget, and as a good rule of thumb, pick 3 things that you're willing to spend a little bit more on so you know where to look for savings. And that's all I have for the 5 things I've learned so far while planning my own wedding. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're a 2025 or 2026 bride-to-be, or if you've done this whole wedding thing before, and if you have words of wisdom, I would love to hear it. So that is going to be all for today's video. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye!